Thank you for joining us once again for our recordings where we discuss with the leaders in the smart technology space. We talk about AI, data analytics, cybersecurity, machine learning, robotic process automation, etc. And today we are very excited to be hosting someone who is doing wonderful stuff in this space. And I will ask Johan Steyn, my colleague here, to introduce our guest today. Johan?
Zenzele, thank you. We always say this, and I'll never stop repeating it. There are people in our local market doing amazing work in this smart technology era. And our aim is to give exposure to those people and to show others, listen, look at all these people, look at what they're doing. And today we've got a wonderful privilege to have Anna Collard with us. I met Anna very briefly at an IT Web Summit in February, I think it was, where she was a speaker. Loved her talk. So I went over in the coffee break to speak with her. Lovely person. And Anna, it's lovely to have you here today. But let me just quickly read some of your profile on LinkedIn. And there's a lot here. And there's a lot to ask you about. You work for No.B4 Africa. Definitely want to ask more about that. Top 50 women in cyber Africa 2020. Top 100 women in cyber 2021. Cyber Defense Magazine. I assume you've written for them or were featured there. Women in Tech Innovation Award 2020, Southern Africa. Africa Tech Week 2020, which I assume was an event. So I think we're all nervous now to speak with you. But welcome. And it's a wonderful accolade to see all of that. I want to, maybe the first question I want to ask you is, I think you're from Germany originally, and I saw one or two posts on social media. We had pictures of beautiful Cape Town, known as Zenzele and I on Joburg, so we're always jealous. But where you mentioned, this is why I moved. So tell us about the move to South Africa, your experience here, and then we'll go into some of the other questions.
Well, thank you both so much for having me. It's a real honor to be here. Johan, likewise, I really enjoyed meeting you too, and I'm following you and your articles on social media. So yeah, thanks for having me. Okay, so why did I end up in South Africa as a German? I mean, there's lots of them here, especially in Cape Town, all the tourists. But I actually, it's about 20 years ago, I came here while I was a student on an internship because I've got family that live here, and I could do an internship in my uncle's company. And I really, really enjoyed it, even though it was in Joburg. It was in Cape Town back then. It was in Johannesburg. And then I finished studying, and I actually wrote I didn't do computer science. I did like a international economics BA equivalent. But I wrote my thesis in information security back in the day, because in Munich, if you're a student, you can either work as a waitress or a waiter, or you can work for Siemens. They have this program called, Siemens Student, where you get paid better than waitressing. And I actually did both. I was waitressing and I worked there. And they offered me to write, they said, oh, Anna, this was like 2001, so it's a long time ago, but they said, you can either choose, to write your thesis in mobility, CRM, I think it was, or security, and that's how I got into security. So it was really more of a, okay, this sounds like the best out of the three. And through this little thesis that I wrote, I got an opportunity to start working at Dimension Data or Internet Solutions. And initially I thought I'd just come for a year, and out of a year became 20 years. And I guess I was lucky to be able to have my first job straight out of school in an incredible South African company. Through Dimension Data, I ended up working actually for them all over, like including in Europe. So I moved back there. And then eventually it was obviously my husband who made me stay in South Africa. But I also really love the opportunities that we have on the continent. The natural beauty in Cape Town is incredible. It's out of this world. And the people, so I don't think you get a better bunch of people. Rainbow Nation is really true to its word. And some of the best friends that I've made over the years, are from all sorts of different backgrounds. And you wouldn't be able to do that in Germany, where everyone is, same color, same religion sort of thing. So I really love that. And I have no aims to move back or anywhere else.
Good to hear, Zenzele.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna, for that introduction. Maybe I would like to know about your role at Know-Before Africa as a content strategist and evangelist. I want to hear more about what you do there and your role, and maybe I think Johan highlighted earlier that it would be great also to know what does Know-Before provide and so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's start with Know-Before. They are actually an American company, or their headquarters is in America, and they're the leader in the cybersecurity culture space. So when I talk about culture, it's really the human element within the cybersecurity space. Why that is so important is when you look at any form of, let's say, a data breach or a ransomware or extortion attack, in the majority of the cases, the initial attack vector is done through the human. So through social engineering, where someone is tricked to either click on a phishing link or hand over their OTP over the phone. So the human element is something that has been overlooked for many years. We think we can solve everything through technology, and unfortunately that means that the adversaries are using the avenue of the people to get in. So building a security culture and sort of raising the awareness, educating people of how to spot these social engineering attacks, how to be aware of their own weaknesses when it comes to falling for scams is what we focus on, and sort of what the aim is of Know-Before. The way I ended up working for them is that when I worked at Dimension Data, I was a security architect and a consultant, very much on the technical side. And this is again, like go back 10 years ago, organizations didn't do much at all when it came to the human aspect or security awareness. They may have hung up a few posters in the bathroom and that's it, or send out really long and boring compliance videos. So I actually came up with the idea to create story-based and cartoon-based animation, short micro-learning to teach non-technical people how to stay safe. And that became a business. Like initially it was just a little side project, and a very long story short, it took 2 years, but over those 2 years it became a full-on product and a business, and we ended up on Gartner's Magic Quadrant in the space. And that's how Know-Before, they noticed the content that we created was really interesting to them and different and fun, and they acquired us in 2018. So Popcorn Training was my business. They acquired it. And then I had a 3-year contract with them to sort of expand into Africa and grow the local business. And now that's been a year ago. And now I have the beauty of being called an evangelist, which is, I know, like my friends, they always joke and say, "Are you selling Bibles?" Which I don't. It's really just a term to get the message out and to raise the awareness amongst the public, and I guess the public on how important it is to be security savvy and security aware. And with that come all sorts of great opportunities. Obviously there's speaking at conferences, but there's also working with universities, for example, or the public sector to see how we can assist in doing more public awareness.
And I love what you say about a security culture. over the years I've seen with some of the big corporates I've been dealing with, they're spending millions of dollars, as they should, on security. But some guy in a dark corner with a thumb drive screws it up. I mean, was it just a few months back, if not weeks, where one of our biggest credit bureaus had lost 54 million South Africans' details? I read in the newspaper that the password for that system was password. And I'm thinking, how does this happen? And even like the space of automation and AI that I work in is, we think the technology will do it all, but we can't. What I often say is automate stupidity. And I love what you say. It's the human element. It's making, and not just the tech people or the leaders. It's everyone in the organization should be aware of it. And the further comment before I get to my question is, I've also had all this security training, even in the audit firm where I work now. I know it's well intended, but it's boring as shit. It doesn't mean anything, So, but how do we really? And I love the storytelling thing. But if a business leader is watching this recording, and he or she says, "I really need my people on all levels to firstly become aware of it, and to also get excited about it, to want to learn," how would they approach it? What would your advice be to them?
Now, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit biased, so I would ask them to come to us because we are like the Netflix of security awareness. We've got over, 2,000 modules, and there's everything in it, from the boring, if that's what you want, but most of it is obviously more humorous or engaging. We've got proper, like a full-on, like a Netflix production type of, like a series that uses storytelling. But we also have games, gamification. We do phishing simulations. We have a lot of sort of culture nudges and in the moment training, micro learning. So there's everything in the cat is available on there, and it's been done in a way that helps you automate a lot of the process. So, and we know that security officers are totally overloaded, and this is more of a people culture project. And if you don't have those dedicated resources, it helps to have a platform where you can sort of automate a lot of the back end. For example, setting up a campaign, and then it automatically reminds people, and it sends reminders to the managers if they haven't done it. And people who fall for phishing simulations, for example, then like this happened to me, by the way, just the other day, where I sat in an Uber car, and I kid you not, as I was in the Uber car and I was still chatting to the driver, and I get out my laptop bag and my handbag and looking around, so doing 1 million things and checking my emails at the same time, I got an Uber phishing email, and I clicked on it. As I click on it, I'm like, oh God, this is wrong. But by that time it was too late. Our IT department obviously picked up that I failed, the test, and then I had to take my own training. The training I developed, I had to do. And why I tell the story, what's interesting about that is, I'm aware. I mean, I've been in it for 20 years. I should know better. Yet, if the context is right, if you're not mindful, if you're distracted, cognitive overload, that's when we make these mistakes, and that's when human error happens. So a security culture is much more than just engaging people and getting them aware or teaching them. That's the first step, obviously. But then the next step is how do we then equip them that when I'm doing this kind of thing, I don't fall for it, or that I'm more mindful before I, react to things. And that's really interesting, because now we're talking about real behavior design and behavior design principles that can be applied, and real organizational culture. And what makes me really, like super excited is, because I'm also a yoga teacher on the side, is how can we bring in the concept of mindfulness into the cybersecurity world and into the world anyway, but it's particularly to people like all of us who are stretched. We do a million things at the same time. We multitask, and then no wonder that we do the wrong things and we use password as password, or we click on stuff, So I think on the flip side, I don't ever want to use the word we humans are the weakest link, because that's actually it's not a nice thing to say. I think that if we clever about it, we can actually be, instead of AI, we can use human intelligence. If everybody is part of the organization, if we all sort of part of this security team, like an extension thereof, we have such intelligence between our ears, that can pick up things much better than the AIs currently, the security technologies can, so that's really where we want to get to, is to say, well, first of all, be aware of what can trigger an error and be more mindful, like not doing a million things at the same time. And then when something comes in and it looks perfect, it looks like it comes from you, Johan, you're asking me to do something, but something about it, it's like a gut feel, still looks off. And that's that human intelligence that we actually want to feed in. And then I report it. And then in the back end, obviously, we have some engine that will verify, is there malicious code in it or not? And then sort of using the humans as an extension, like a human intelligence as an extension of the security team.
Wow.
That was a long-winded story.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think I agree with you that cyber awareness, I think, is very important now, especially when we are now adopting all these digital platforms, working from home, etc. I think it's very important that we have our employees or stakeholders be fully aware of the cybersecurity risks and so on. I think you actually spoke about something in one of your previous interviews, unconscious incompetence, where you mentioned that, well, sometimes we think we know what we don't know. And then we become too relaxed and vulnerable, But I wanted to maybe ask you something that is, maybe the element of artificial intelligence. It's been said that AI is not really a panacea, but would be actually very effective in helping address some of the concerns, or helping us to mitigate some of the risks and be able to detect cyber security attacks before they happen. Now, to what extent can these AI and ML solutions help us to improve our mitigation efforts? Or we're dealing with cyber security criminals that are way advanced than our AI solutions, and maybe we will continue in a cycle trying to address the cyber security concerns. I mean, forever.
Yeah, I think there's a cat and mouse game that will continue, because as we evolve, so do the criminals, and they're using AI technology and automation as well in their campaigns or in their attack mechanisms. Where I see particularly machine learning bringing a lot of value to the cybersecurity space is more on the event management side, where we do have a lot of data, like from your network devices, your gateway devices, your endpoints. They're all creating audit logs, they're creating events. And in the past, having to write these parsing engines to sift through that it was really tricky. And you have, organizations spent millions of rands or dollars to buy these they're called security information and event management systems that like correlate everything and then make sense of it. And that technology has evolved a lot by using more automation and machine learning algorithms to help the SOC or the people responding to it to make more intelligent decisions. The trick always with anything, and I'm sure it's the same across the AI space, is during the implementation phase, is to help configure those algorithms correctly, or to feed the AI, if there is an AI engine in it, to feed it with the right information. Like, for example, if you have to say, well, this is the baseline, this is normal behavior, do you really know that this is normal behavior? Or maybe they're already sitting on your network, So that, I think that is the trick, and also the lack of skills. Like we don't have enough security professionals in South Africa or on the continent, I mean worldwide actually. And do those security engineers that you have, do they understand how to configure an AI or ML algorithm, that is new to them also. So it's that convergence of emerging technologies and skills that we have to, we have to upskill everyone on all sides. That's one of the challenges. We also see AI helping a lot, obviously, also on the defensive side, like making sure that if messages are coming in, for example, pretending to be, again, I'm using you as an example, Johan, those signature-based kind of, current security controls that would block spam and phishing and all of that, they've also evolved, and they use AI or automation technology to verify, is this real, is this not? It's a bit of a buzzword, like every security vendor has some AI built in. We also have it. I mean, we've got quite a cool one though, that's really cool, where two things. The one is if users report something as suspicious, the more aware they are, that's what we want, is that they will report more and more emails that are suspicious. However, that will then flood our operations center. They get all these reports in. So we've built something that will do a lot of the initial sifting through. It automates that, and then it prioritizes the events that look seriously dangerous. So it helps the incident responders to, like work on the things that really matter, rather than spending their time on thousands of events that are not important. So again, in short, like long-winded answer, but I think definitely ML and AI and automation is helping an industry that is too it's not resourced enough. We don't have the enough people, not enough skills. So automating as much as possible, particularly on the sort of low like the not as intelligent but the hard-working kind of stuff, that's great. As soon as it gets to more sophisticated AI, I think we still struggle probably a bit with the implementation. But that's also, that will change in time. So definitely we benefit, but the bad guys also benefit. I mean, they automate their phishing campaigns, their reconnaissance. They have bots that will look up everything about you, Zenzele, and then send you a customized spearfish that looks like it's really written for you, but it's all automated.
I'm so glad, Anna, you've touched on skills, because that was my next question. And I just quickly, before we end, want to tell a story. A few years back, I worked for one of the local Big Four banks. And not far from where I sat in the office, there was this, it looked like a space age office, all these screens and blinky lights and stuff. And it was enclosed with this soundproof glass, but that was the security center. And I spoke to the manager there one day, and he told me that, and this is now 5 or so years ago, that they received 200 to 300 almost state-sponsored size hacking attempts a day, this bank. And I'm sure that, this is not even HSBC or Deutsche Bank or Bank of America or something. This is a bank in Africa. And I think the more this kind of technology infuses our lives and our businesses, the more exposed we are to it. But the question I want to ask you is around talent, which I think you've already alluded to. It is a challenge here and globally. What I also like is that if I look at your profile again, top 50 women in cyber, women in tech innovation. So maybe you've already answered the talent challenge in security, but maybe to end off with, as a woman working in the local market, which is a passion of mine, even though I'm a guy, because I really believe we as guys have got a lot more to do. Just is there enough growth? Are people, corporates, leaders understanding the role of women? Is it just a tick box exercise? Maybe just to end off with, what's been your experience as a female in this industry, and what can be done better, do you think?
So, I mean, I never had, in the 20 years that I worked, I had maybe 1 or 2 bad experiences. So I've always had mainly male colleagues, particularly in the engineering space, and they've always been exceptional and great mentors, and nobody cared whether I was what color, what gender, as long as I get my job done. So that's been my experience. However, I think that in the last few years, and this is why these platforms are actually quite good, like Women in Tech Awards, etc. Even though some women look at it, they say, I want to be awarded for my work, not because I'm a woman. But I think that's not what it's about. It's really providing a platform so that other girls and women can see, wow, this is actually a possible career option. Because a lot of them don't even consider it. They still think, oh, IT or security, that's like, guys in hoodies sitting in a dark corner and ones and zeros, and it's so much more than that, right? So just by providing more role models that show to the youngsters out there, hey, there's a whole industry that needs people, and whether you have a psychology background, a computer science background, a data analytics background, come and join us because there's space for you, because we need it, right? And that's, I think, the positive side of, in the last 2-3 years, I'd say there's way more awareness and more talk about we have to attract more girls and women into technology in the STEM field. And I'm actually part of a mentor group called the Cyber Girls. It's originally from Nigeria, but they've now extended to incorporate girls from all over Africa, including South Africa, where it's like a 8-month fellowship, and these girls go through some cybersecurity training. And it's wonderful to see that, some of them would have never considered cyber as an option, and now they're all excited, and they want to learn how to do pen testing and hacking and just get exposed to all the different areas. And we also working, by the way, we in conversation with UWC, the University of Western Cape, on creating a fundamentals course that will be accredited by the university, but it's going to be like a short course that is targeted at people that can't afford the standard university. Hopefully, also more girls. In fact, the current software engineering cohort is 90% women. So we try and take them through like a security fundamentals course, so that they're ready not to be an expert, obviously, but they're ready to go into a Standard Bank, for example, or another bigger organization and start as an intern and be already equipped to, like they're not totally green behind the ears. And we need more initiatives like that, because the corporates are complaining that there's no pipeline that's being built. They can't find the skills. They have to internally create academies to skill up youngsters. And, at the same time, we have 65% unemployment amongst the youth. So there's such a huge opportunity. It's just, it's staring us in the face. And it's nice to see that, we're not the only ones. There's lots of initiatives coming up all over. In fact, Standard Bank internally, they started a academy where I think they attracted more than 1,000 employees from within the bank who were keen to skill up and learn more about cybersecurity. So, there's a lot happening in this field. And I think my appeal to anybody listening is, if you are in the field, go and speak to any youngsters that you may know, particularly girls, to tell them how cool it is to join. Or if you're interested to join the cybersecurity field, reach out to myself, even if you want, or if in your existing company, speak to a security officer. I tell you now, they are overloaded because they don't have enough people, and there'll always be an opportunity to help out and learn and get involved.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Anna. That was quite exciting there. I think we'll leave your contacts, on the at the bottom of the video, the description there, so that if anyone would want to connect with you, they can always get in touch. But yeah, thank you so much. Keep on evangelizing, training and educating the people about cyber security and awareness, etc. Thank you so much. we really appreciate sharing your insights with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really, it's an honor.
Awesome.